Welcome to Nevermore Stories. On today's story, we have a cheating wife and aspiring gold digger who gets involved with the wrong affair partner. Revenge is cold. You won't imagine how this one ends. Warning: this content is not suitable for people with high expectations for English literature, or for those without a dark sense of humor. Claire Sterling's heart pounded as her phone buzzed with a message. It was from her husband Paul, who had been away on business for the past few days. She quickly unlocked her phone and read the chilling words. "Business is over here," the message read. "I'm on my way back now. Dinner reservations are for 5:30 tonight at Mancini's. Be there or else." 12 years of marriage flashed before Claire's eyes as she trembled in fear, realizing that something was very wrong with her husband. Paul had been distant lately, so Claire was not surprised by his lack of tenderness or heartfelt emoticons. She wished him a happy anniversary and hoped for a reply, but there was none. Claire frantically checked her watch and realized she had only minutes to hide the evidence before her husband arrived. She jumped out of bed, sweat dripping down her brow, and frantically scrubbed away any trace of the man who had been in her bed just moments ago. Who was that? Jason Wren, the stranger she had just shared a passionate night with, asked as he watched her clean up their affair. Claire's heart raced as she delivered the news to Jason. Her husband, who she had thought was miles away in Mexico, would be coming home early for their anniversary. A mix of emotions washed over her: excitement and dread, joy and panic. She had wanted everything to be perfect for their dinner at Mancini's, but now she only had a short time to clean up and make herself look presentable. Her mind raced as she called her father, pleading with him to watch their son Sean for a few more hours. She slipped up for the first time. She had already told her father she would be spending quality time with Paul today. But now she got caught in her lie of saying she needed a few more hours to go meet him. It was one thing to lie to Paul, but lying to her father was becoming more stressful. "I can't go out looking like a trash bag," she cried to Jason, feeling both fearful and ashamed at the thought of him seeing her in her current disheveled state. But as she desperately searched through her closet for something decent to wear, a part of her couldn't help but feel guilty for hiding the truth from her father. Would he start to grow suspicious? She couldn't let him find out about her secret affair with Jason. Jason shook his head confidently. "There's no way he'll figure it out now. We've been doing this for over 5 years. Claire couldn't help but nod in agreement. "Paul has been so preoccupied with something lately, he barely has time for me anymore. He even talks to my dad more than he talks to me. It's like he's leading a double life, but as long as he keeps paying the credit card bill and doesn't question my shopping, I'm okay with it." Jason playfully chimed in, "You do know you're kind of a gold digger, right? Maybe you can convince him to splurge on a new watch for me." Claire laughed and nodded, thinking that what Paul doesn't know won't hurt him. After all, he does owe her this for putting up with his distant behavior. Jason asked, "How long are you planning on keeping him around?" Claire simply shrugged her shoulders in reply. "It's hard to say. He's been a reliable source of income for us, and his constant absence is convenient for our arrangement. Plus, he covers your rent as well. I'm sure he would make a great father if I ever allowed him the chance. But considering Sean isn't his, there's no guarantee he can even have children." Jason added, "Maybe it'd be wise to have a few more kids to increase potential child support payments. If you're going to play the gold-digging game, might as well be successful at it." "I'll be here if you need anything," Jason said before smiling at Claire. "Just stop sleeping around with half the city," Claire responded. "Can't promise that," he replied with a smile of his own. Claire walked over to the closet in Jason's apartment and noticed how much more risque her wardrobe was there compared to the one she shared with her husband. Claire examined the dress she had selected. It was a bold red number that clung to her curves and revealed more than it covered. She knew she had to keep Paul's paycheck coming. Jason's advice on being a successful gold digger still echoed in her mind. She would tell Paul she had been saving the dress for a special occasion with him. Claire made her way to the bathroom and locked the door behind her. She turned on the shower, letting the hot water wash away all her stress and worries. She took extra care in brushing out her long blonde hair, knowing how much Paul loved it when she wore it in a sleek ponytail. After applying a touch of makeup, she slipped into the red dress that she hoped would reignite the passion between her and Paul. She was worried. Paul was always so doting and sweet to her, and yet his text made her fearful that something was wrong. Giving Jason a quick goodbye kiss, she promised to meet him tomorrow night at their usual coffee shop. Paul had received a distressing message from his employer a day earlier while working in Mexico, ordering him to drop everything and return immediately. They accused him of committing a serious security breach and warned that he could lose his job and face prison time. Apparently, his credit monitoring had revealed that he was paying for an apartment occupied by an international drug smuggler. Little did the public know his employer was actually a covert federal agency. The investigator for his employer had uncovered the damning evidence: a credit inquiry, rental payments in his bank account. Panic and fear clenched at Paul's throat as he was escorted by two menacing figures when he arrived at the airport, co-workers who now seemed like strangers to an unknown destination. He braced himself as they pulled up to an ominous apartment complex, unsure of what fate awaited him inside. The driver's cold gaze bore into him, demanding answers. "What have you gotten yourself into, Paul?" They could help, he said, but how could they when even his closest colleagues doubted him? Paul Sterling's throat constricted as he took a large gulp, feeling completely clueless. Claire emerged from the apartment complex in her stunning red dress. What was happening, and how did Claire fit into it all? Paul sat there, silently trying to comprehend the nightmarish situation unfolding before him. The employer's investigator loomed over Paul, his voice dripping with accusation and condemnation. "You have been entangled with a notorious international drug smuggling ring," he declared, his eyes boring into Paul's with an intense gaze. A surge of guilt washed over Paul, crushing him under its weight as he realized his naivety for not seeing the warning signs sooner. Paul's heart races as the investigator leans in close, his voice a menacing whisper. "You must keep your return to town a secret," he instructs, eyes cold and calculating. "Meet with Claire for dinner tomorrow night. You will receive your next set of instructions shortly prior." Paul nods, spine tingling with fear at the thought of what may be waiting for him at that meeting. Paul slinks into a rundown motel, tossing crumpled bills onto the front desk with shaking hands. This wasn't his first time hiding in the shadows, but it was certainly the worst. Instead of returning to his loving wife at home, he finds himself in this grimy hotel room, unsure of how he got here or what's happening in his life. All he has with him is a lone suitcase, a stark reminder of his shattered reality. He tosses and turns all night. The following day, Paul texts Claire, "Business is over here," the message read. "I'm on my way back now. Dinner reservations are for 5:30 tonight at Mancini's. Be there or else," and throws his phone onto the bed. He stands under the scalding water of a filthy shower, trying to scrub away the grime and stench of his journey. As he dresses in wrinkled clothes from his suitcase, there is a harsh knock at the door. He opens it to find the same two menacing co-workers from the airport, their cold eyes piercing into him. "Come with us," they say in a low, threatening tone. "We have much to discuss about the plan." As they drive to the restaurant, they reveal that the person behind the apartment rental was none other than his wife, Claire. The security cameras caught her entering and exiting the building multiple times, hand in hand with an infamous international drug smuggler named Jason. The words hang heavily in the air, causing an uncomfortable knot to form in his stomach as he struggles to process this unexpected betrayal from his own wife. "Here's the plan," they explain as Paul's blood simmers with anger. "You need to confront Claire tonight and make her confess her involvement, hopefully get some much-needed answers in the process. Once she reveals she is involved with Jason and that all of this has gone on behind your back, we'll be able to proceed." Paul's heart pounds against his chest like a frenzied drum as he pulls up to the restaurant. Fear and desperation grip him, knowing that this may be his last chance to get the truth from Claire's lips before it's too late. With every step towards Mancini's, he feels his determination grow stronger, an unwavering force amidst the darkness of secrets that threaten to consume him. As he enters the lavish restaurant, Paul is dwarfed by its grandeur. Plush velvet chairs, white-clothed tables, and marble floors adorned with ornate brass chandeliers create an opulent setting. Glad he had worn his finest wrinkled clothes for the occasion. But then he sees her across the room, Claire in a stunning red dress with long diamond earrings, clutching a glass tightly between delicate hands. This was their chance for answers at last. Without a word, Claire meets Paul halfway and they take their seats facing each other. Tears already streaming down her face betray the weight of what is to come. The silence hangs over them like a restless specter, refusing to let go as they both hold on to the gravity of this moment. Neither can speak for what feels like an eternity until finally words spill from their lips as they confront the truth that could change their lives forever, whether they wanted it or not. Paul demands the truth, his eyes narrowing with suspicion as he leans in closer to Claire. She feigns innocence, a sickly sweet smile on her face as she asks about his trip, but her voice trembles and her hands shake, betraying her facade of ignorance. Paul's anger boils over at her deceitful act, causing him to slam his fist against the table. "Don't play dumb with me," he seethes through gritted teeth. Claire's sobs rack her body, tears streaming down her cheeks like a relentless river. Through choked breaths, she manages to ask, "About what?" The words hang in the air, heavy with fear and dread. Paul's response is like a knife to her heart, each word slicing deeper as he lists their shared pain. Jason, the apartment, the affair. Each syllable feels like a weight on her chest, crushing her with guilt and shame. Claire's crying intensifies, her whole body trembling with emotion as she faces the consequences of her actions. Claire's words spit out like poison. "I can explain, Jason didn't mean anything." Paul's eyes burn with fury as he responds, "You love your credit card more than the sacred vows your wedding ring represents." The weight of his words hangs in the air, heavy with betrayal and hurt. Claire's face contorts with guilt and shame as she realizes the depth of her mistake. As Claire sits at the table trying to calm her racing thoughts, a man in a dark suit approaches. She hopes he is the waiter, bringing a much-needed distraction from the tension and anxiety consuming her. But as he asks for her name, she realizes with a sinking feeling that this is not the reprieve she was hoping for. The man serves her with a thick stack of papers, divorce papers, and Claire's heart drops into her stomach like a heavy weight. Paul, sitting across from her, looks even more shocked than she does, but all Claire can feel is a numbness in her chest as she accepts the end of their marriage. The man in the dark suit leans in close to Paul, his cold breath sending shivers down his spine. "Your car is ready," he whispers, his voice laced with urgency. "They're waiting for you." Paul stands, his movements slow and deliberate as if every step is a heavy burden. Claire's wailing fills the air, piercing his ears like sharp knives. When their eyes meet, he feels nothing but pity for her broken form at the table. Without a word, he exits Mancini's and strides towards a black town car with determination, leaving behind the shattered remains of their relationship. As he enters the car, Paul is greeted by two grim-faced investigators. "That was the only way to get you out alive and keep you from rotting in a prison cell," they say. Paul's heart pounds in his chest as he realizes the gravity of the situation. A narrow escape from death and a damning future. Paul's voice trembles as he mutters, "My life is over." His words echo in the empty shell of what used to be his home. He can still smell the smoke from the fire that devoured everything he held dear. His wife, his child, their memories now reduced to ashes. A crushing weight presses down on his chest as he wonders, "What do I do now? Where do I even begin to pick up the shattered pieces of my life?" "No," the investigator says, "Jason's fate is sealed, a lifetime in prison, while Claire will face her own trial as an accomplice to an international fugitive. Meanwhile, you are being hailed as a hero for your role in bringing down Jason and have been given the power to choose where you will be reassigned. But make no mistake, Paul. Our mission was to investigate, assess, and retrieve the asset at all costs. And that asset, my friend, was you. What is your first move in your new life?" the investigator asks. Paul pauses, thinking about what is truly important to him in life, then says, "Cancel that gold digger's credit card. Please like, comment, and subscribe."